WOVU LP Cleveland.
Stand up.
Issues out of black and white. Let's concentrate on right and wrong.
And now, our voices today.
Why are we led by our pride?
Hello, welcome to Our Voices Today on WOVU 95.9 FM. This is Burton Bell Carr Community Radio, streaming live from WOVU.org and the WOVU mobile app. I hope that all of you are out there doing well and feeling good. Hopefully you had a chance to drink some clean, fresh water, cold or hot. You know, water is where it's at. It's going to give you what you need in order to succeed. All right. So I hope you had a chance to eat some tasty, healthy, nutritious food. And I hope you got some good rest the night before so that we are thinking positive, productive thoughts, sending out those good vibrations to the people, to our families, to our communities all across the world. So I am very excited for the program we have in store for you. A very interesting individual, someone who is a fixture in the Garden Valley, Kinsman neighborhood area, and a known author, a community activist, educator, advocate, lots of things. So I'm just gonna allow this person to tell you all those things, because there's no way that I could list everything. So we're going to welcome to the program a friend of WOVU. It's been a long time since you've been here, sir, but welcome back, Brother Tracy Bush. Brother Tracy Bush, how are you?
Hey, I'm fine this morning, TC, and thanks again for inviting me back to the show. I have great admiration for what you guys are doing here. I just like to thank you guys, because without you, I think part of this community would not survive and would not be able to thrive and develop new concepts of growth.
Yes, thank you. So you are, in addition to being an author and, a community do-gooder, you are also a minister. And you have a publishing company called Bound to Heaven Ministries, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is like, I realized at an early age, I was born, basically in the backwoods of Mississippi by, midwife. And the fact of the matter is, coming to Cleveland and growing up in Cleveland, I kind of realized that I missed some things, because there used to be so much joy when we would go to church and shouting and streaming, praising the Lord, and, at the time that this was happening, also when I got to Cleveland, because we were a church family, I was missing something. There was something that was missing, and I guess it was part of my destiny to say that I was living in a degree of spiritual poverty. Mm-hmm. And by living in this degree of spiritual poverty, I realized that it made me unwealthy in a sense, and it caused me downfalls and troubles. But what I did was I began to educate myself about spirituality. And at the time that I was educating myself, I realized that there were others around me, who needed to be educated too. So before I knew it, I was pencil and paper in hand and writing down and putting together the tools what they could use also, along with teaching myself how to end spiritual poverty in my life, because I had came to realize that Satan's number one goal when he got to earth was to create spiritual poverty for mankind, to get them lost out of the pathways of the blessings what they were meant to have in the first place. So this is what created the drive to want to write and share and create more love in the environment where there was darkness and misery and pain.
Yeah. What can you explain spiritual poverty to us?
Well, spiritual poverty is the lack of knowledge in developing the spiritual skills that are required out here that everyone is not possessed with. There's some of us that have different callings and different a different presence in our growth in life. Some of us can get it quicker than others, certain things. Those who may be a little slow like I was, who was slow to pick up on how to stay out of certain pathways and not create certain issues. This is what it means. It means to grow to a spiritual level of security where you can have the love that you were supposed to have shining in your life and through your life for others.
Mm-hmm. Hey, you said you were slow. What did you mean by that?
Well, I mean, hey, I went to the local school around here, Anton Gardena. Mm-hmm. They put me in special eds class, and that disrupted my creativity to want to advance and get a education, as someone would say. So it brought me to another level where I found myself doing, mischievous things and causing problems for myself, mm-hmm. where heck, I wound up, having to spend time away from home incarcerated because of mm-hmm. these things. Mm-hmm. So, as I was growing, I still kept focused on the fact of, spiritual growth in life creates spiritual wealth in life. So what I did was I traded in the spiritual poverty for spiritual wealth. Now, spiritual wealth is more precious than diamond and gold if you look at the reality of it, because it will keep you safe and will put you on an eternal pathway also.
Yeah. So you grew up here. You were telling me before we got on about growing up right over here on 75th. You just mentioned you went to Anton Gardena. You said you told me you used to cross the Sideway Bridge. Talk about, the time that you grew up in and, what was the climate, there, what was in the air, what was going on?
Well, I like to be perfectly frank. When we're talking about the late 50s and early 60s, there was so much joy, so much happiness, so much togetherness and unity in the community that we had a family-oriented process of love. And I can remember, one time doing something and next door neighbor told my mama, and daddy didn't take no mess, but mama didn't either. And she took care of me, and you go and I apologize and everything, but I never stepped out of line in that way again. But the fact of the matter is, I can remember that me and my father, we used to cross the Kinsman, what they call the Sideway Bridge, back and forth, because he had associates over there. He was a captain in the U.S. Army, and he used to like to sometimes put on his uniform and just, feel comfortable because, it was his thing, and walk around the neighborhood. We used to cross the bridge. And then he told me never cross it by yourself, but you know how it is when you're a young guy,
Why? So, why not cross it by yourself?
Right. So, hey, you know what?
No, I'm asking you why did he advise that?
Well, it's just a parent thing. It's a parent thing, but you usually, when they tell you something like that, mm-hmm. It's like, and you got the adventure in you, you go do it anyway, because I figured I was mature enough, and I figured, even though I was basically a young child in a sense, because when I first crossed it, I think I was probably about 4 years old with him, but I learned to cross it by the time I got 6 by myself.
Right. So the Sideway Bridge was the bridge that connected the Kinsman neighborhood to Slavic Village, right?
Basically, yeah, but yeah. It was more or less, I would say, Polacks, Slovenians, and just different nationalities, and it was some Italians over there too, So, yeah, but, I can remember when we left one year to go visiting again, because we used to go to the South, of course, we make trips to the South. They leave us down there sometime, me and some of my siblings, and, we would... I came back and the bridge was burnt.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
They had the riot.
So you were pretty young.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I was a little tight, But just the same though, I was a traveler in a way, and then I had the adventurous spirit, because when I was in the South, I used to do all kind of traveling throughout the South, backwoods of Mississippi, Alabama, and all that, with family and relatives, and but the thing about it was, even when I was living in Garden Valley, I discovered the back pathway to the only waterfalls in Cleveland, which happened to be the Mill Creek Falls. Mm-hmm. And I was enjoying that as a youngster at the ages of 6, 7, and 8 also, But where I'm going with this is right now, what I have now is just offering individuals a way to succeed in ending spiritual poverty in their life. I've authored these books that gives them guidelines and gives them a way to learn how they can share this with others. I donated the books, a great deal of them, to the Cleveland Public and East Cleveland Library. So you don't have to purchase the books. You just have to go in and get them. Some of the books are titled basically An Invitation to End Gun Violence, because this is the major project what I'm working with now. Another one is Cease Fire, A Matter of Life and Not Death. Another one is Help to Stop Bullies, Ending Satan's Dichotomy, which increases his ability to harm folks and causes folks death. Okay, we have a number of books in there that are just waiting for anyone who carries a gun, who may be in a position that gets a little unbalanced and could possibly harm someone.
Yeah. All right. So we are going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll have more with our guest, Brother Tracy Bush, author, community activist, educator, local minister, a number of things, but all around just wanting to help humanity, right? End the spiritual poverty.
That's right.
We're experiencing. He says we're experiencing. So with that, we'll be right back. If you have any questions or comments, call us during the break, 216-271-0959, 216-271-0959. This is Our Voices Today. We'll be right back.
To never stop fighting, don't ever quit, just cause the rich get richer and the poor don't get. Excuse me, but I get so mad. Where could we have been? What could we have had? Yeah. It's time to lose those shackles and break those chains. Now who is gonna stop you from being a man?
My name is Brother Tracy E. Bush. I am a local author and activist who wants to share a message to help stop someone from getting out of control, to help end a large part of gun violence around the country, starting in Cleveland, Ohio. Check out the video by searching Google Tracy Bush, YouTube, Ending Gun Violence in America. It gives insight on where to receive this free help. No one will ever know who you are It is especially for those who do not want to be helped by others, but want to help themselves to end the senseless gun violence they may be headed for or involved in. Thank you and stay blessed.
This message is brought to you by Tracy E. Bush and WOVU 95.9 FM, Our Voices United, a Burton Bell Car community radio station.
First and foremost, I want you to know that I need you to live. You were created for a purpose. You were created for destiny. And no matter what you're going through, the pain that we are experiencing in our lives all adds up to our God-given purpose. I am telling you that I want to see you live because your story will inspire me.
This message of hope is from the Alcohol, Drug, Addiction, and Mental Health Services Board of Cuyahoga County, the Suicide Prevention Coalition, and WOVU 95.9 FM, Our Voices United, a Burton Bell Car community radio station.
What's up, Cleveland? It's your girl, Jazzy J, and I just want to know, have you downloaded our app yet? Yes, our app for Androids and iPhones. All you got to do is go to your app store and download WOVU 95.9 FM, and you can listen to us anywhere.
It's time to make the short story longer, yeah. Stand up, my people. Stand for something in your life. Stand up, my people.
Welcome back. You are tuned in to Our Voices Today on WOVU 95.9 FM. I am TC Lewis. With us for this hour is Brother Tracy Bush, local activist and author, working to end what he calls the issue of spiritual poverty. Yes, and he is also the owner of Bound to Heaven Ministries Publishing, and you can visit him online at boundtoheaven.org and check him out, see what he's all about. All the books that you have published, Mr. Tracy Bush, Brother Bush. You have some of them here with you, and they focus on spiritual poverty, but also on how we relate to each other, violence. You are on a mission to end gun violence in the community. Talk to us about that.
Yes, I have developed a way that I think will create positive avenues of growth that takes individuals beyond that level of wanting to harm someone to wanting to realize that, there are other ways and other measures you could use. And one of the major things that I'd like to emphasize on right now is there are two books. One, Ceasefire, A Matter of Life and Not Death. This book has incorporated in it the therapy exercise that I call the Halo Hoop of Hope and Providence Ring. I have one right now that I have on my arm.
Can you say that again?
The Halo Hoop of Hope and Providence Ring. Mm-hmm. What it is I consider it to be a therapy exercise. I've introduced it to some of the daycare centers, and they're excited about it because what can be done with it is it creates a way to release tension, frustration, anxiety by using it to toss it up against the wall or to play catch with it, and also to put it on that index finger, the one that they use as a trigger finger, to whirl it around to create a positive level of energy with it. Okay. It is something that I created, and right now it's something that I am so thankful for, because I see some positive reactions. Even more so, what I discovered is I incorporated this in the book Ceasefire, also in the book The Hewitt Family Forever. Now,
so this hoop, say it one more time.
The Halo Hoop of Hope and Providence Ring.
So it's a rubber bracelet, and it's meant to distract someone, or is a soothing exercise?
Yeah, well, it's like a soothing exercise that gives people a more positive way of. In the book, I talk about what they can do with that finger, the children's, to develop a habit of using it for something great instead of one day using it for something violent. And also now I go to the Fresh Fest of Cleveland, and when I was at the Fresh Fest, they did an interview on me just this past few weeks ago, but they also passed out the Fresh Fest bands, and they go on your arm as an armband also, but they can be used for the same thing as the Halo Hoop of Hope and Providence ring. And also one has to do is, once they get the book, they can go in there and they can read up on the exercise and be able to do it themselves, and you can do it from the privacy of your home. No one knows you got to be doing this. Also, the therapy exercise and information is in the book, The Hewitt Family Forever, which it talks about the Halo Hoop of Hope and Providence ring, which I take little kids and I tell them, put on top of your head, walk around with it, because it's your halo.
Okay.
You use I teach them how to use their imagination so they can kind of like gravitate towards those positive growth patterns and eliminate that spiritual poverty from being placed in them in an early age also.
Yeah, so you said you share this with different groups, daycares, especially kids, and you saying these are therapeutic exercises. Where did you come up with this concept?
Well, it was one day I was out, and me and a buddy of mine, we was riding, and they had some ladies that were doing the hula hoop for positive reasons. So they said they didn't have any men's around, so me and my brother, we said, look here,
I can guess probably correctly who you ran into.
Yeah, I said, we hula hoop with y'all for a minute, just to keep the positive image flowing. And then that night I had a dream, and next thing you know, it came to me that, hey, why don't you put the Halo Hoop of Hope and Providence ring on that trigger finger and use it as a therapy exercise.
All right. Okay. And they're focusing on the trigger finger to, you said, to give it something else to do, in a positive way.
Right. It starts to grow the imagination. You can use that as to conduct an orchestra.
Right.
I mean, hey, you could use that as a way to point to the stars, to chart new levels of growth and create new adventures.
Right. Ultimately, helping to increase your spiritual wealth. So we can find that exercise in Ceasefire, you said, and the Hewitt Family Forever. The Hewitt family, what does that mean?
The Hewitt family is a family that I kind of created so that we all can be a part of a new generation of growing into a level of love and decreasing the spiritual poverty also out here in society. See, when I first started writing the books, which the first one I guess you would say is Little Mr. Fix-a-Thought, it's like a little stick figure that I carried around with me as a child on my shoulder, and every time I think about doing something wrong, he'd tell me, Mr. Fix-a-Thought, tell me, don't do that, So, and it just grew where it helped me to decrease my spiritual poverty, and besides, becoming learned of what I needed to know in life and understanding the biblical principles of growth.
When did it come to you to even for yourself and to share with the community the concept of spiritual poverty? How did you know that you were spiritually poor, or did you just feel that the community was spiritually poor?
Well, yeah, that was basically, it came to me at an early age when I had a desire to know more about what they were preaching and teaching about that I had no understanding on, when I was at Sunday school when they were having Sunday school, and when I was at church, and as a youngster, you don't understand these things. I mean, of course they had, youth Sunday school, and that what started out, but in some of the churches that I was in, they didn't have that.
Okay.
So, I'm sitting up here and I'm like, hearing the preacher preach, and I'm like, everybody else shouting, and I'm like, I'm missing this. And this gave me an initiative to want it, and it was the seeds that was planted in me to make me say, hey, look here, I need this. So even though I was traveling through troubled times at one time in life, I kept my eyes on the prize, and that was to eliminate spiritual poverty. I wrote about it, and I've been writing about it for years. I have over 60 books that I've authored, but basically all of them is geared towards that. I have a book titled A Message from the Word, and basically what it teaches you is to have your hand guided by God's hand to what comes together with yours it gives you a way of understanding some of this biblical knowledge. It's like I'm working on a couple of pieces now, and they deal with what developed the foundation of the curse, basically, of why we stayed in Afghanistan for 20 years. And it tells us how to develop an understanding of how to free ourselves from that bondage, because we were locked in there for 20 years. And thank God we weren't locked in there for 40 years, as some people were that were locked in the wilderness. But see, I use basic scripture knowledge to guide people throughout, some would say, thousands of years of history, to bring them up to date so that they can find the new freedom within themselves to share with others.
How do you use history to allow people to realize their freedom?
I've studied. I put in some time, I've been to school for this, and, it's like, I developed a pattern of studying, and as I study, I use the tools that are given to me that are available. And one of the greatest things that was available was the Bible. So, I studied for years, and I went to school, and it was just like it came natural after a while.
Okay, gotcha. So let's go ahead. We're going to take another break, and more with Brother Tracy Bush, community activist, local author. You heard it here. He's written over 60 books, and I want to know when we come back, what got you to start writing all these things, publishing books, and where does that passion come from? So if you have any comments or questions for Brother Tracy Bush, give us a call during the break at 216-271-0959, 216-271-0959. This is Our Voices Today. We'll be right back. WOVU 95.9 FM.
If we were never taught or told to never stop fighting, don't ever quit, just 'cause the rich get richer and the poor don't get. Excuse me, but I get so mad.
Are you a renter in Cleveland and facing eviction? WOVU 95.9 FM, the United Way of Greater Cleveland, and the Legal Aid Society wants you to know that you have rights. Certain Cleveland families have the right to an attorney in eviction cases. If you rent your home in Cleveland, have any kids living in that home, and meet low-income guidelines, free help is available. If you think you qualify, contact Legal Aid immediately at 216-687-1900. That's 216-687-1900. You can also apply by dialing 211 on your phone. After a quick screening, you'll know if you can get a lawyer's help for free. Learn more at freeevictionhelp.org. That's freeevictionhelp.org. This message is brought to you by the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland, the United Way of Greater Cleveland, and WOVU 95.9 FM, Our Voices United, a Burton Bell Carr community radio station.
Hello, I'm Mayor Frank Jackson. The City of Cleveland Division of Police is accepting applications for patrol officer. A career in the Division of Police offers a competitive salary, great benefits, job security, and opportunities for career advancements. We are seeking a diverse group of young individuals who are motivated and who represent the people we serve and protect. To speak to our recruiting officer, call area code 216-623-5233. Again, that's 623-5233. You can also visit the City of Cleveland's website for more information. Thank you, and we look forward to receiving your application.
To submit your application online, visit governmentjobs.com/careers/Cleveland. This message is brought to you by the City of Cleveland and WOVU 95.9 FM, Our Voices United, a Burton Bell Carr community radio station.
It's time to make the short story longer,
Welcome back. This is Our Voices Today on WOVU 95.9 FM. I'm TC Lewis. With us is local author and activist Tracy Bush, owner and founder of Bound to Heaven Ministries Publishing. Please go online. Find out all about all of the more than 60 books that he has published to help give information to the community on how to relieve what he calls spiritual poverty. Boundtoheaven.org is where you can find him. And, there's a number of characters, Mr. Bush. I know I said before the break I wanted to talk about, how you got into writing, how you chose this modality as your way to share information with people, but I've noticed that you have a system through your characters, through your imagination and your creativity. But what got you into writing, and why'd you choose books as the method?
What got me into writing really was the fact that I received one grade in school that was always A's. And the other grades was always less than admirable, you could say. Okay. And that was my writing. They gave all teachers, they said, you have a handwriting that is awesome. And they gave me A's for it. And my spelling, I got F's, but that's another story. So it just was something that was born into me that I did not know that would grow into this level of growth. And when I started, before I knew it, I was walking around with pen and paper and writing the things that brought awareness to me that I thought would create more energy in my life to do greater things. And this is what it has grown to. At one time, I carried it around 24/7, basically, pen and paper. And when I couldn't spell nothing, I would ask anyone. I didn't care who it was. How you spell this word? Mm-hmm. And Lord, I had no one never turned me down, or someone would just say, I can't spell it. I'd ask the next one, but no one never got nasty, rude, or ugly about it. Mm-hmm. So this gave me the initiative to, I guess, write, because I found a freedom and I found a friendship there that I discovered that gave me a whole new world that I could find love, peace, and happiness in. So this was one of the things, but little did I know that it was a calling. It would turn into a passion. It would turn into a way to empty out loneliness and despair and pain in life. And now it has grown to that level where this is what it's doing for not only myself, but for others, because when I kind of started out, it was kind of like, this is helping me, but all of a sudden I said, well, heck, somebody else could use this, somebody else. And now I found myself in a position where I'm on a worldwide venue where I'm writing things for other peoples in different continents of the world. And for instance, let's say over in Afghanistan, I have developed a lot of things that's dealing with their problems. One of them is, like, for instance, this book I wrote, Disconnection from Extremism. Okay. And it gives guidelines of understanding how you became misfortunate enough to not have your spiritual grace in your life where you wanted to harm others. So it takes them from that level of wanting to harm others to creating a peace. And then in a way, we look at it now that extremism is happening in America through gun violence. So this could be used for that also. But when I first written about it, it was for them. And then another book that I had authored also, Book of No Lies. And that's the title, Ending Oppression Throughout the World. And when I look at it, I'm like, hey, I wrote this for another country, another nation of people dealing with individuals that are basically terrorists and dictators. But at the same time, I'm looking at the fact of ending one of our major problems all over the world, which happened to be Taoism. And it is a disease of a spiritual ailment that most people are not even aware of.
Okay, what's Taoism?
Well, Taoism is something that got placed upon mankind at the fall of the Tower of Babel. And when the confused state of beings came into existence because of this, and the Lord basically told them, hey, do not do something, and they did it anyway. They were 107 years at building this tower till the Lord said, oh, y'all not gonna listen. So now I'm gonna dismantle it, and I'm gonna dismantle y'all communication so that y'all cannot respond to one another in a way where y'all will ever do it again. But what happened was there were seeds planted by Satan at the time when he became aware of this, that, hey, I can create individuals becoming little towerists, to lose them in a dimension where they cannot find themselves or the way back to the reality and create a spiritual poverty in their life.
Where do you see, spiritual poverty in front of us, like in our neighborhoods?
Well, it's all over the place. Anytime someone commits an act of violence against someone, child abuse, sexual abuse in adults one another, just any type of sin that you can imagine comes from being in spiritual poverty. I wrote a book titled Time to Stop the Abuse, whether it's mental, physical, verbal, or sexual. It's poverty. It's spiritual poverty. I wrote a book titled Save Yourself from Suicide for those who are suicidal, who have suicidal tendencies. It's spiritual poverty. See, the whole existence on the downfall of man came from Satan's number one goal, and that is to increase spiritual poverty. Once we get away from that level of existence, then we create a new balance of love and growth in our society.
So am I on the right track? When I say, I think what you're saying is spiritual poverty is like a loss of connection with God, like the distance, right? There's a distance.
Yeah, well, it's society.
And so in that distance, you're saying you kind of lose yourself and lose your way.
Yeah, it's people's number one enemy. If we just sit back and realize that, what I need to do with my life, what increases my blessings, it comes from spiritual knowledge and wisdom. If you don't have those factors and you're out here lost or on the highways or the byways, as they say, then you will go in other directions that will create discomfort, pain, and harm.
Mm-hmm. I mean, is it simply a matter of, going to church and learning the Bible? How do we become, what are the other ways we become spiritually wealthy?
Educate yourself in spiritual terminologies and growth within the scriptures. And this could come from not just the Holy Bible, but it could come from other means of knowledge also.
Like what, such as? Mm-hmm.
Well, I kind of would like to just leave it right there right now, if you don't mind,
Okay.
but it's up to other individuals to find those tools in whatever, I would say, and I don't want to add religion, whatever spiritual practices that they are involved with. Mine just happen to be the Holy Bible, and others may be something other than the Holy Bible. I'm not judging anyone on what they prefer to learn from, but all I say is this is things that need to be learned so that you can be educated, so that you can create that new level of peace, love, and freedom from a bondage. I wrote a book titled Time to Stop Living on the Edge. How many people are living on the edge? Too many. Another book, Fixing What's Broke in America, Ending Terrorism. These are just tools. There are more tools out there than I could ever create, or I can ever, say, hey, use this, use that, use this. But what you need to do is start somewhere, because one of the biggest fears I learned that mankind has is accepting the fact of becoming a child of God also.
Okay.
This is something that will elevate the maturity of anyone if they want to grow into the most mature person they could be. But a lot of people fear this because they think it's going to take something from them, make something insignificant in their life, or make them look like they are not an adult, when you can't be an adult really without being a child of God. Now, this is what I determine as a factor in life. Now, some people would be like, oh no, you're wrong. Hey, I can't be right with everyone, I guess, but hey, it's not that I don't want to appreciate the love that I can share with you, but I want you to appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So each title of your book seems like, feels like it was perhaps an epiphany that you had, within yourself, and decided to expound upon those. There's so many in front of me here, including the Hewitt Family Forever, The Devil is a Lie, Book of No Lies. And also, do these titles also represent things or concepts that you yourself personally have struggled with and found solutions on how to overcome them?
Well, there's, I don't know, I could say there's many directions that you could say these books have interpreted their own meaning. Okay, it's like, for instance, Understanding the Priceless Wealth of Spiritual Skills. That book right there, and it basically talks about how to share a part of the Real God account. The books themselves, the ideals themselves, I have no idea when they're coming or where they're going to come from, except I know that the Holy Spirit works with me. It tells me titles. It tells me what to write. I find myself trying to stay out of the way of putting too much of what I believe in there, because I want to keep it as pure as I can. Just for instance, like I said, the book, The Devil is a Lie, but do you accept it? Question mark. So, it's a variation of what I'm told and when I'm told, and it's almost like I have no control over it, but hey, I love it. And some people say that's all you do. I say, well, between that and family, and what else is it to do, basically? You know, you're producing love, you're showing love, you're growing love. The book I got, like for instance, I wrote the ABCs and XYZs that erases an ugly part of life to end spiritual poverty. You know, it's like all of it has somewhat a degree of reflection on who I am, where I've been, and where I'm at now. You know, that I can say, you know, maybe you have been there, you know, maybe you understand this, maybe you need to understand more about what's going on, and here's how you could share with the whole spiritual spectrum of growth.
So, you know, Bound to Heaven Ministries, all of these books are published by you. They are, you know, beautifully done. You know, I would. Do you do publishing for other people?
No, honestly, I have not.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I'm too busy with the stuff that I'm doing now. I have 3 on the table now that I'm in the process of completing, and hopefully I have them done. And, you know, it's like there's probably about 8 or 9 more that I have on the back burner. So, you know, it's like, you know, it's just something that I have made a mission in life to make sure that, you know, others are endowed with this creation of knowledge.
And you know, like I said, they're, you know, beautifully done, all of these works, but, you know, out of beauty often comes from, you know, pain, dirt, ugliness, and, you know, just you being able to share this knowledge, these discoveries of yours with other people. You know, the beauty of that comes from some troubled space, I'm sure. You know, what are some of those times that you sort of mentioned before where that were troublesome for you?
Well, I have been in levels of tragedy, and I have been traumatized myself. You know, I've lost some of the closest friends in violence because they were basically living in spiritual poverty. I have tried to warn some also that they are living in spiritual poverty, where before they would wake up to it, they have gone on to another place other than Earth. And there has been, I have been at one time, you know, I volunteered basically to become homeless because of a certain status in my life, where I said I would rather create peace if I have to be homeless than create problems in a situation that I was in. You know, I have also, like I said, been incarcerated, and it has given me more, as a inspiration to write, because when I was there, there were ungodly principles that I knew I was not going to live with, so I would not go back. And then also, you know, to be able to accept the fact that I had a very limited education, you know, until I went back to basically, you know, get more education. And I found myself where, you know, the economics of my life became pretty dim and bleak at times. But I always had the faith because, you know, of I was raised up in that godly principles of spiritual wealth that I seen around me, but I had none, but I wanted to receive some. So I guess it motivated me to do this also. And when I got the spiritual wealth that I needed, you know, I guess it grew, and it just has kept growing because, you know, I look at the fact of one of the books that I wrote titled How to Live with Less and Gain More. And it's just one of the most beautiful things that I think I put out, along with a book, Why Do Black Men Harm Each Other More Than Others? And this is to take peoples out of a frame of existence where they're not feeling on a positive level because of certain factors and give them a refreshing outlook on who they are.
How do we live with less and gain more?
Eliminating spiritual poverty.
Silly question. All right. And well, tell me, what does that exactly mean? Because it brings to mind, being a minimalist, getting rid of all the stuff that you don't need. But maybe I'm answering my own question. Getting rid of all the thoughts that you don't need, maybe?
You know what? You have just kind of like put it into a way where it's acceptable. And I can respect you, answering your own question. So this right here helps me to feel like, as long as I've been knowing you, that something is good and better every day about you.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, thank you for that conclusion. So what's next for Tracy Bush and Bound to Heaven Ministries? You did mention you have about 8 or 9 more titles coming. But what about your work to end violence? Are you going to be going, or can we see you somewhere? Are you going to be speaking? I know you do different events and things like that.
Yeah, I find myself in a position now where that's why I created this latest video, ending gun violence, starting in Cleveland and all America. And you could go to YouTube, Google Tracy Bush ending gun violence and see the video. Now, there's a long version of it that you could see also on my website, which is boundtoheaven.org. And what it'll do is it'll take you from just the one that talks about ending gun violence to another frame of existence that deals with the political arena and how you can escape from not being affected because of their disruption and corruption in our society.
All right, man. So, where do you, as you see Cleveland, you've been here for a long time, and you still live in this neighborhood?
You better
Garden
believe
Valley,
it.
Kinsman. Mm-hmm. As you see things changing, developing, there's clearly a lot of changes going on, whether it's Opportunity Parkway, and I'm looking towards the redevelopment of Woodhill Homes, right? All sorts of things. What's your outlook on the future of this area of Cleveland in general? We're going to have a new mayor soon. Many things happening. What's your outlook?
My outlook on this part of the United States, especially in Cleveland, is one of the brightest that I could witness to anyone, because I think that we have been chosen as a city to redevelop and restructure and reenact a old policy of loving each other instead of harming each other. And I think once we get this put in place, which should not be too much longer, the rest of the world, the country will pattern themselves after us. I think Cleveland is one of the most chosen places on earth that we can not only begin a new way of living here and stop the violence, but we can also show others a way to God's light, God's truth, and to create the new days of loving in principles and eliminating darkness that we need.
So you're saying Cleveland is bound to be the example for the rest of the world?
You better believe it.
Well, interesting. Thank you, Tracy Bush, brother Tracy Bush, local author and activist, for joining us for this edition of Our Voices Today. It was a pleasure to have your voice back on. And remember, listening audience, you can find Brother Bush and all of his works at boundtoheaven.org, boundtoheaven.org. And again, Thank you, Brother Bush.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that will do it for us for this day's edition of Our Voices Today on WOVU 95.9 FM. Make sure you stay tuned to keep it locked. We have all of the great conversation, informative information, great music, and lots of fun on WOVU 95.9 FM. And we love our wonderful listening audience, the best listening audience in all of the world. Make sure, if you haven't yet, and I can't imagine that you have not, make sure you download the WOVU mobile app and share it with your friends. The giving season is upon us, and it is the perfect gift, and it's all free. Thank you again, Tracy Bush, for coming out, and thank you to all of you. Have a wonderful day.
What could we have had? Yeah, it's time to lose those shackles and break those chains. Now who is gonna stop you from being a man? Stand for something. Why don't you open your eyes? Stand up for what you know is right. Stand up, my people. We're slowly dying.
Thousands of people in Cuyahoga County walk through the doors of the Justice Center each year to have their felony cases heard by judges. When a person goes in front of a judge, anyone can see a record of what happened in their case.
But what do we know about the judges, or why some people have higher bail? Who gets a plea deal, and who doesn't? Is sentencing fair? Turns out those questions have been nearly impossible to answer, until now.
You press a code tight enough, you're going to get a diamond. Everybody's got a convict in them. That's my point. It's not just, you can't just single people out.
Across the country, as well as in Cleveland, popular support for criminal justice reform is at an all-time high.
Experts say that Black Lives Matter.
U.S. protests have greeted a judge's decision to acquit a white police officer charged after killing an...
You do what you can to make your community better. That's been my philosophy since I've been on the bench.
The vast majority of our judges are excellent and unquestionably worthy of the public's respect.
The Marshall Project, a news outlet that reports on criminal justice, is investigating years of court records in Cuyahoga County. As Clevelanders, we've never had a chance to look this deeply inside the system. That's where you come in.
The Marshall Project has teamed up with us at WOVU 95.9 FM, Our Voices United, a Burton Bell Carr community radio station. Together, we're going to investigate the courts and the justice system. We want to hear from you. Call 216-446-5001.
That's 216-446-5001.
Join the conversation.
Together, we'll explore how the system is or isn't working.
If you notice a loved one talking about guilt or shame, changing their eating or sleeping habits, taking extreme risks, or talking about death often, they may be thinking about suicide. Ask them, are you thinking about killing yourself? If they say yes, tell them, life is better with you here. Help them get connected to resources. Call Cuyahoga County's 24-hour suicide prevention hotline, 216-623-6888, or go online to withyouhere.org. That's withyouhere.cle.org. Everyone deserves to know that life is better with you here. This message is brought to you by the Adams Board of Cuyahoga County and WOVU 95.9 FM, Our Voices United, Burton Bell Carr Community Radio.
Can you believe it's that time again? Fall is on its way. Right around the corner is Sweetest Day, and we have a sweet treat for you. EDB Productions presents The Intruders, Saturday, October 9th at the Front Stage Multiplex in Cleveland Heights, 3492 Mayfield Road at Severance Town Center. The show begins at 8 p.m. with host DJ McDuff and Cleveland's own Triple Exposure. For more information, call 216-331-0024 or call 401-9815. You don't want to miss this epic event. The Intruders, live at the Front Stage Multiplex, 3492 Mayfield Road in Cleveland Heights, Saturday, October 9th. Brought to you by EDB Productions and WOVU 95.9 FM, Burton Bell Carr Community Radio.
WOVU 95.9 FM, we are here for the community. It's called Our Voices United. And we're united to give you all the information from sports, music, gospel, mental health, financial literacy, anything that you need, we got it here at WOVU 95.9 FM. Don't forget to download our app right now. Go to your mobile app store, download WOVU. Put it on your phone. This is one of the reasons why you need to listen to us. We are the community. We're for the community. I am your music director, DJ Chris Towles. And thank you for listening to WOVU 95.9 FM.